Welcome to Answers from Jesus. If this is your first time checking this channel out, I'm glad to have you here. My name is Andy and I'll be delivering today's message on adultery. These videos are designed to address the many questions we have in life, so we turn to the Bible for the answers. If you enjoy these videos, please consider hitting the thumbs up, subscribe, and bell icons to be notified of new content. Doing so is free and it does help the channel grow. To start today's topic, we'll turn to Exodus 20, verse 14. You shall not commit adultery. This is one of the 10 commandments. And we'll turn to Proverbs 6, verse 26. For a prostitute can be had for a loaf of bread, but another man's wife preys on your very life. And then down to verse 32, but a man who commits adultery has no sense. Whoever does so destroys himself. And then as we'll read in Jeremiah how adultery is disgusting to God, turn to Jeremiah 7, verses 9 through 10. Will you steal and murder, commit adultery and perjury, burn incense to Baal, and follow other gods you've not known, and then come and stand before me in this house, which bears my name, and say, we are safe? Safe to do all these detestable things? So, many of God's chosen people have come to believe that God's presence in the temple would protect them from the enemy attack, regardless of whether or not they obeyed God's laws. But the people of Judah were not excused from obedience. Neither are we. And we know God considers lust as sinful as adultery, as we read in Matthew 5, verses 27 through 28. You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. One of the questions religious leaders repeatedly threw at Jesus was about the Jewish law. Jesus was proclaiming the kingdom of God. What did his new kingdom have to do with the old regime that had ruled Israel for centuries? Jesus was claiming his teachings should supersede the divinely ordained laws designed to hold Jewish society together. This question persists even today. One theory says that the Old Testament is all about law and the New Testament is all about grace. That makes it easy to think Jesus brought a happy and painless religion of love, kindness, and being as good as you can. But this is a gross oversimplification, as we see from Jesus' comments about adultery. According to the law versus grace theory, the Old Testament would condemn the sins of adultery, and the New Testament would teach forgiveness. But Jesus clearly shows a different angle. Instead of focusing on the outward sin of sleeping around, Jesus turns inward and shines a bright light on the human heart where sin is conceived and developed. He knew that men don't do what they haven't first imagined or fantasized. Anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart, declares Jesus. Tell that to the guys oogling the latest Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition, or the far more explicit material on DVD and the internet today. Jesus wanted his new message of grace to help clean out our sinful hearts, not give us some kind of twisted rationale to keep on sinning. And as we read in Mark 10, verse 11 and 12, he answered, anyone who divorces his wife and marries another woman commits adultery against her. And if she divorces her husband and marries another man, she commits adultery. This is a little different than the Western way of thinking, isn't it? Now there's hope for those who have committed adultery, as we're going to read in John 8, verse 1 through 11. But Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. At dawn he appeared again in the temple courts, where all the people gathered around him, and he sat down to teach them. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman caught in adultery. They made her stand before the group and said to Jesus, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. In the law, Moses commanded us to stone women. Now what do you say?" They were using this question as a trap in order to have a basis for accusing him. But Jesus bent down and started to write in the ground with his finger. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and he said to them, "Let any one of you who is without sin be first to throw a stone at her." Again, he stooped down and wrote on the ground. At this, those who heard began to go away one at a time, the older ones first, until only Jesus was left with the woman still standing here. Jesus straightened up and asked her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" "No one, sir," she said. "Then neither do I condemn you," Jesus declared. "Now go and leave your life of sin." God's grace. God's grace is good, but we can't continue to sin. We have to turn from it and don't continue our bad habits. Adultery is just one of them. Our next lesson will be on advice, so tune in for that one. Thank you for joining me. God bless you.